text, they're not coming. She's
Okay.
not coming. Yes,
so you're going to introduce...
Robin?
No, she's not coming. You're going to introduce Tanika Valburn Gray.
Gray. All right.
Okay.
I got the white dress on.
That's it.
You can let the advocacy groups come off back to back. They don't have to introduce one.
Okay. Greetings and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, Chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Co-Chair of the Caucus on Black Women and Girls, and proud representative of New York's 9th Congressional District, located in Central and Southwest Brooklyn. Let me say thank you to my dear friend, my sister colleague, Congresswoman Shontel Brown, for working with me, for partnering with me to assemble a legislative package that has united elected officials, experts, and advocates from across this nation. Let me also acknowledge my colleagues of the caucus on the Congressional Caucus on Black Women and Girls, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman of New Jersey, and Congresswoman Robin Kelly of Illinois. I also, of course, want to acknowledge that we've been joined by one of the latest members of elected to the United States Senate, the wonderful senator from Maryland, Senator Angela Also Brooks. Let me again acknowledge our advocates and activists who have joined us here today, and all of those whose tireless work and compassion led us to this very moment. The work of each of these folks assembled here are the work that they are doing to push this fight forward and leave no woman behind is truly inspiring, and you will always have my gratitude. Earlier this morning, the women here today gathered alongside even more of our colleagues in Congress, our fellow advocates, and even award-winning actress Lupita Nyong'o, because we recognize that there is a crisis in this nation. It is a crisis that has seen women from all backgrounds and all walks of life suffer in silence. It is a crisis of medical misinformation, confusion, and self-doubt, and it is a crisis of intentional neglect and limited resources. It is a crisis we see in our own lives. I am, of course, referring to the Black women's health crisis, which has followed us from America's earliest days to this very moment. As a woman who has confronted a battle with uterine fibroids myself, the battle for the health care that we deserve and have been denied is a personal one to me, as it is to millions of women across this nation pleading for the support they need to win this battle. And that is why I am proud to join everyone assembled here today as we prepare to announce this legislative package that will put us on the path toward more informed choices and a better health outcomes for Black women. Within it are 4 necessary bills. My bill, the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Uterine Fibroid Research and Education Act, which I'd like to acknowledge. We're joined by our late Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones, by her son, Mervyn Jones, who is here with us today, a partner and activist in this space. The Uterine Cancer Study Act, Congresswoman Brown's You Fight Act, which she'll share more with you about, and Congressman David Scott's Uterine Fibroids Awareness Month resolution. Alone, each of these bills represents a major step forward in repairing the harms Black women have felt for centuries. Together, this legislative package is far more than the sum of its parts. It is a resounding call that we will not accept a status quo that is truly unacceptable. We will not abide by the way things are when we know how they can be. Progress isn't optional for millions of women in this nation, and it isn't optional to us either. When workspaces force our Black sisters to conceal their true hair textures using chemical straighteners that give them cancer, when 25% of all Black women will suffer from uterine fibroids before their 25th birthday, when somewhere in this country a young girl is experiencing a pain she doesn't understand and that no one will explain, this is where work is to be done. Believe me when I say the women here today will be the ones to do it. So let me thank you all for joining us, members of the press, as we kick off our movement for women's health justice. And with that, I'm going to turn this press conference over to Congresswoman Shontel Brown of Ohio for her remarks.
Thank you.
Let me get that up there.
Yeah, you need to.
There's not a whole lot of room yet. Okay.
Thank you, Congresswoman Clarke. I am also very honored to be alongside Senator Also Brooks, Congresswoman Watson Coleman, and again to be joined by my predecessor's son, Mervyn Jones. It's important to recognize that these are leaders who are not new to this fight and not new to uplifting the voices of our constituents. I am proud to stand with them. I also want to thank the advocates who are here, the White Dress Project, the Fibroid Foundation, the Society for Women's Health Research, and the Foundation for Women's Health. These are the folks who are doing the work on the ground every day, part of the national groundswell that is taking place around this issue. Before I begin, I want to recognize and commend Congresswoman Clarke for her leadership on the Uterine Cancer Study Act and on the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Uterine Fibroid Research. Thank you, Congresswoman, for your leadership, and for carrying on the legacy of Stephanie Tubbs Jones, who was once my representative and whose district I now have the honor and privilege to represent. And thinking about this bill and this issue, I keep going back to the word representation. It's what we are here to do, after all. Represent our communities and represent our constituents. That is the power behind this legislative package, behind each of our individual bills. Representing people who are too often overlooked and looked over and looked past. Representing the millions of women who are suffering from fibroids. Representing the millions suffering from uterine cancer, and representing their mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts, and nieces who are also at risk. Here's what we know. 80% of black women will suffer from fibroids during their lifetime. That's 4 out of 5. And for reasons we still don't fully understand, black women are more likely to develop fibroids and more likely to suffer severe symptoms, heavy bleeding, extreme pain, fertility complications. Today, fibroids are the leading cause of hysterectomies in this country because the pain we get gets so bad, women feel they have no other choice. And what's worse is often they do not. And it's not just fibroids. Black women are more likely to be diagnosed with uterine cancer as well. Let's call this what it is. Let's call the thing a thing. It is a public health crisis. A public health crisis that's happening in plain sight. It is time for federal action. It is long past time for federal action. We need more research. We need more education. We need more public awareness, and we need better treatment. That's what our legislative package delivers, and that's what the You Fight Act is all about. And for many of us, this isn't just policy. When you look across the spectrum of women, it is personal. It is for me. Living with fibroids felt like something taking over my entire body and taking over my entire life. And I know for a lot of women, you just don't understand what's going on when it's happening. You don't know if this is normal or if it's just a part of being a woman. But let me say this clearly. Just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. And it certainly doesn't mean it's acceptable. I mentioned Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones at the top. She introduced her first bill calling for fibroids research in 2001. 2001, that's 24 years ago. And 22 years ago, she urged support for her bill on the House floor saying, and I quote, "I rise today to bring to the attention of the Congress an issue related to women's health that is misunderstood, underfunded, and devastating to the physical and sometimes mental health of women. The issue of uterine fibroids. She was right then, and those words ring even truer now. So yes, it's time. It's past time. It's been time. So Congresswoman Clarke and I stood here last summer as well, and thank you for those who were there for that event. But now we have support in the Senate. And so that's progress. That's momentum. And that's a reason for hope. So we're going to keep fighting, and we're not going to give up. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to none other than the senator, the gentle lady from Maryland, my good friend, Angela also Brooks.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank both the Superbag Congresswoman Yvette Clarke as well as my sister Shontel Brown, a Congresswoman from Ohio, as well as the other leaders who are here, Congresswomen and other leaders. As we know, July is Fibroid Awareness Month. And this is an issue that is not only personal for so many women. What I really think should be understood today is, as you look at the crowd of folks who are standing here today, understand that we represent 80% of all American women. And so we're speaking on behalf of each of them today. You've already heard that 80% of all women are impacted by fibroids. But what we have not said so far, another very important statistic, is in spite of the fact that we represent 80% of women who suffer a serious health crisis, this is epidemic. We know as well that 0.03% of all research dollars in our country are spent researching fibroids, an epidemic among women. So we are here today because we have to be. Because we're standing not only on behalf of the women, each of whom, if you talk here today, 4 out of 5 have suffered from this crisis, but we represent as well our daughters, at some point granddaughters and great-granddaughters, and we know that our grandmothers and great-grandmothers fought this same fight. But for all of the medical breakthroughs that we have discovered as a nation, in spite of the long line of women who have suffered, we've long needed more research and understanding on fibroids, and we do not yet have it. For so many years, so little progress has been made until today. So this is, for all of us, a really wonderful day. It's a day where we can speak unanimously not only about how this particular epidemic has made so many women feel emotionally and physically, but today we are here introducing legislation to do something about it. So it is long past time for this to happen for so many women who have experienced significant pain, who have experienced anemia, bleeding, increased urinary frequency, fertility problems, pregnancy complications, and more as a result of uterine fibroids. The women who are forced too often to advocate for themselves, who have been seeking multiple opinions before finally getting diagnosed, and for far too many people who get diagnosed only after they require surgery. So fibroids have affected so many of these women. We are here today united to fight through this package of legislation. And be clear, we won't stop until we not only get answers, but until we take from our daughters and granddaughters this particular epidemic that not only threatens their lives, but also threatens their opportunity to bear children, to grow families. And so this not only affects them, but affects the men in our lives as well. This is a family issue. And we are here today to advocate and to present legislation that we know will go a long way toward the research that is needed, toward intervention, early detection, and toward an answer. So thank you so much, and I will hand over at this point the podium to Congressman Bonnie Coleman.
Good afternoon. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank God for the opportunity to sit in on an open discussion this morning with women who represent so many different advocacy groups and so many different issues and so many opportunities to shed light on something that we don't know enough about to avoid the pain that women go through. And so after having had this discussion about the impact of fibroids, the impact on all women, but the impact also on black women and young women who are experiencing pain and bleeding and really don't understand what is their norm, that it is not normal. And so thank God for the Congressional Caucus on Black Women and Girls, which was created to elevate the discussion of the intersectionality of sex and race in public policy that had not been dealt with for so long. Thank God for the election of 2 black women to the U.S. Senate so that our work in the House and their work in the Senate can represent bicameral investment and bicameral prioritization. I am particularly thoughtful of the Stephanie Tubbs-Jones bill because I am the co-lead with my colleague, Yvette Clarke. You know, uterine cancer is also a killer of women, and it is a even larger killer of black women. And so I know what it feels like to have had a cancer diagnosis. But I also knew what it felt like to have that diagnosis very early and to have access to good medical care, but also to have a form of cancer that had a whole bunch of research and resources behind it. That is exactly why we're here today, because this issue of women and fibroids and uterine cancer are areas that have not been given the kind of attention, resources, or prioritization in policy or legislation that it so deserves. I'm proud to be here with these women. I'm proud of my colleagues in Congress, both the House and the Senate, and I'm proud to be able to say that this is a fight that we're taking on because Stephanie started it, and we're going to stay there and be at it until we can end this disparity. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I get the opportunity to introduce someone who's working very hard in this area, and it is Tanika Valburn Gray from the White Dress Project, in case you didn't notice.
Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment to thank our members of Congress. As Congresswoman Coleman said, this is truly an extraordinary day for all of our patient advocates in our community across the country. This is such a special moment that our members of Congress find this issue so important and have chosen to use their platform to advocate for it. I'm Tanika Gray Valbrun, founder of the White Dress Project. We are a nonprofit patient advocacy organization that I started 11 years ago during my own very painful journey with uterine fibroids. I'm joined here today by Janelle Henry, one of my longest serving board members and director of programs for our organization. My journey included years of heavy bleeding, cramping, chronic stress, a miscarriage, 3 myomectomies, which is the surgical removal of fibroids, with a combined removal of 43 fibroids. I've had 10 years of infertility and never wore any white clothing due to my heavy bleeding. After a long journey 5 months ago, and after a beautiful pregnancy, I welcomed my son into the world, which is just so precious for me. We wear white in solidarity to represent what so many of us feel we can't do to the trauma of excessive bleeding, surgeries, and loss of fertility. But beyond the dresses are real lives that are being impacted, a condition that impacts nearly 80% of black women by the age of 50. The reintroduction of these critical bills is much more than legislation. It is a declaration that our health matters, our voices matter, and our lives matter. I am deeply grateful to Representative Yvette D. Clarke and Shontel Brown, Senator Booker, and Angela Osbrooks for standing with us in the fight for equity, access, and justice. As the founder of the White Dress Project and author of the Fibroid Month resolution, along with David Scott, and a woman who has personally battled fibroids, I see this moment as a testament to what happens when lived experiences meet legislative power. So together, we can wear white. Every time we choose to wear white, we are taking a stand with a community who never feels comfortable wearing white. Please call your members of Congress and tell them how important this legislation is. And follow us at We Can Wear White, because this critical legislation has to be passed. Thank you so much to our members of Congress. And I will pass it to... I'm sorry.
You can pass it.
Yes, I'll pass it to my colleague, Sateria from the Fibroid Foundation.
Thank you, Greetings, everyone. I'm Sateria Venable, founder and CEO of the Fibroid Foundation. Thank you to Congresswoman Clarke and Congresswoman Brown for your leadership and all the members who have backed the fibroid bill. I began advocating for uterine fibroids in 2007 and launched the Fibroid Foundation in 2013 after my third of 4 fibroid surgeries. And it's so important to stress the impact of fibroids on our community at large. We just welcomed our first ambassador in the UAE. So the fibroid journey spans borders, spans oceans, spans continents. It is so pervasive. I recently spoke with a major researcher at a leading medical institution, and I asked him why he became a gynecologist. And he told me that the uterus is the most fascinating organ in the human body that spans genders. And he said, can you imagine, Sateria, if men's testes grew 20-fold and wouldn't shrink? He said, how soon would we have had a solution, a cure? So let's do the work. Advocate for those who are diagnosed with fibroids. Go home and ask your family members who you may not be aware have struggled with fibroids. And let's do what we need to do to pass this package of legislation to reduce the suffering that women endure, that they feel generationally that they should endure, and they absolutely don't have to. Thank you for your support, and thank you to our members for this opportunity.
And now it's my honor and privilege to ask, is Catherine here? Yes, Catherine Schubert of the Society for Women's Health Research to bring her comments at this time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Congresswoman Clarke,
Absolutely.
Congresswoman Brown, and our powerful bicameral champions of this very important public health issue. I'm Katie Schubert. I'm president and CEO of the Society for Women's Health Research, and our mission is to advance women's health through science, policy, and education. You've heard the statistics. We know this is a problem that needs to be solved, and we cannot wait another 24 years to do so. We do believe that we have the ability to get this package of bills passed this year. It's critical. We cannot leave ourselves, our daughters, and the future behind just because of something that we are told is normal. And again, just because it's normal doesn't mean that it's right, or you're told that it's normal. So this package, like everyone has said, we've been working on it for 24 years. Less than 1%, less than 0.5% of NIH funding goes to uterine fibroids for something that impacts most of the population. It wasn't until 1993 that women were required to be included in clinical research, and it wasn't until 2016 that female mice even had to be included in clinical research. So we are already so far behind, and this is a very important topic that requires more education, more awareness, and solutions. We have to know why, and we have to be able to treat and ultimately prevent this chronic condition. So thank you for all of your work.
Thank you, Catherine. And is Coach Jesse? Where did Coach Jesse? Oh, Coach Jesse, are you okay? Yeah. No, is she? Does she want to sit? Coach Jesse, you okay? Okay. We're gonna hear from Coach Jesse, one of the activist advocates in the space of uterine fibroids.
First of all, thank you so much to Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, Representative Shontel Brown. I'm going to just tell you, vulnerably, I deal with chronic health issues because of my battle with fibroids. Because I battled fibroids for 14 years, that resulted in complications where I lost over 20 feet of my small intestines because of complications from the fibroid surgeries, which I was told was the only option that I had to treat fibroids when I was first diagnosed. I've had 5 fibroid surgeries. And because of the loss of the small intestines, I have something called short bowel syndrome, where I easily get dehydrated and can faint. And that's actually what I just dealt with. And I am so proud to be standing before you here today as an answer to prayer to help make solutions for fibroids a reality for women who have been denied. They've been told over and over that their pain is just normal. They've been told that what they're dealing with is not anything serious. Their pain has been dismissed. Venus Williams just recently shared her story. Lupita Nyong'o shared their stories, horrific stories of being told that there was nothing they could do, that a hysterectomy was the only option, that it was normal for them to carry extra pads and clothes with them wherever they had to go. And we are standing here today on the shoulders of women like Stephanie Tubbs and Congresswoman Yvette Clarke and all the women who've been suffering for hundreds of years to say, you are not crazy. This is a real public health crisis, and we will not stop until you are given real integrative solutions when you are asked about it, and that you are educated about the real drivers behind it, and not just given the solution of surgery as one option or drugs to maybe temporarily reduce your bleeding. But we stand on the shoulders of women who've been taking charge of their stories and saying, I'm going to do what I can with lifestyle changes. In fact, the White Dress Project posted today about the research around green tea therapy. There's research around vitamin D therapy. There's research around hormone imbalance and chronic stress and chronic inflammation, and how each of these are levers that actually help pull and amplify and intensify the fibroids issue. But when you go to your doctor, why is it that you're not told about those things? Why? Because the research doesn't verify and validate them as real options. So my dream is that the day a woman is diagnosed, even before that, when she has her menses and she's learning about it, she understands the things that she has the power to do to help prevent these issues, because the research is tantamount, because the doctors are telling her everything from the beginning, because her mother is equipped with the information she needs to help her know and take control of her journey. Thank you so much. I'm Coach Jessie, and I turn this over to Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Thank you. Follow us at Coach Jessie, and we're here to support you.
Thank you so much, Coach Jessie. So I'm going to have Congresswoman Shontel Brown give her closing remarks, and we'll open up for questions.
I'll be very brief. I think you've heard all of the remarks from everyone that this is a universal problem. It goes far beyond party affiliation, partisanship. It is something that impacts, again, 60% of all women, 80% of black women. And so we just want to elevate this and give it the resources and the support that we need to eradicate and eliminate this very seemingly preventable issue if it is given the attention that it deserves. So thank you
so much, Congresswoman. Oh. We like Murph.
Okay, sure. I'm sorry.
We want to make sure that you have a moment to just give your perspective, Murph.
Well, thank you, everybody, for having me here. I'm usually the silent supporter in the background. I've been doing some heavy lobbying on this over the last couple of years and taking up the arms of my mother's work from 2001 when I was in college. I just want to make sure that women across this country know about this issue and know that they are supported, and they need to take action with their members of Congress and their senators to make sure that, hey, they are heard. I have a daughter myself, also by the name of Stephanie Jones, who this falls under. She's asked me numerous questions about uterine fibroids and why she has to get checked out religiously, and I tell her it's all in due time. It's all for the good. As soon as we find a solution and a genesis of the problem, sooner we can help you out and your kids. So thank you again for your time today. Looking forward to working with you all.
Very well. Thank you so much, Merv. So we're going to open up for questions because I know everyone's been out here in the heat. Yes. And could you just tell us your name and outlet?
You guys have been lobbying for this for a real long time. Why hasn't it passed so far, and why do you think you have a better chance this time around?
Well, from my perspective, it's coming in on the shoulders of Stephanie Tubbs Jones. We just didn't have the representation that we have now. We have a significant number of organizations who have come into fruition since she first introduced the legislation 24 years ago that have been doing a great work. We also have two black senators on the Senate side, female black senators, which we historically haven't ever had. And so representation truly matters. Now we have companionship, and I believe that the more we talk about it, the more we normalize the conversation, the greater support that this will receive.
Do you think with Republicans in control it has any shot?
You know what? The one of the organizations, your organization, actually received some NIH funding as it relates to research under this current administration. So I do believe if we continue to have the conversations, that they will see this as an issue that is not a partisan issue, but one that just impacts everyone. And the more conversations that I've had with my Republican and as well as my male colleagues, we find that it's more prevalent and common than people realize, and so they're willing to at least have the conversation. So it gives me hope. I'm cautiously optimistic, Sabrina.
That's right.
One more point. Sorry.
Sure.
A bill like this was passed in Florida, of all places. So if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Yes. Your name and outlet. Sure.
Hi, Sateria Venable Fibroid Foundation. I just spoke to Women in Government at their annual conference in St. Louis the other week. Had 3 sessions with state legislators across the country and sent them bill language because they're very interested in introducing and replicating the state bills that have already been instituted. So hopefully we'll get some traction there. It takes all of us doing our part at every level. Thank you for that question.
Any other questions? Yes, absolutely. Marvelous.
Investments. How do we get that? How do we get the money? Where does the money come from? Can you walk us through that?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for your advocacy, Marvelous. Let me say this. We know that unfortunately we're in a time where the federal government is cutting funding left and right, downsizing the federal enterprise, and HHS is not spared. But we have seen some inroads. Prior to the Trump administration, we were able to get language into our appropriations process that put a marker down on the work that needs to be done around uterine fibroids. So there's been a little funding allocated, and our advocacy organizations have been quite successful in granting grant funding for research that needs to be done. So let me say this, that is all a track record that leads us down the road to the full funding that we need when the constellations align properly for us to do so. And I share with everyone that it's taken us some time. We introduced this legislation without failure every session of Congress, and that's because we're building momentum. It may not happen in this session, but then again it may. We just don't know, but we're not giving up on the mission. We're not giving up on the futures of women's reproductive health. We're not giving up the futures of girls being educated and informed about what uterine fibroids mean and hopefully what the genesis of it is, so that lives can be managed properly and that ultimately we'll have the ultimate treatment, so that there won't be another generation that will have to go through the challenges that previous generations have gone through. All right. It's a wrap, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I literally was about to
I know. I saw you
Things
sitting
started going
there.
black. Everything
Yeah, I
started
saw
going
you. I
black.
saw you sitting there. That's why I asked.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have water?
Yes, I do. But all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I literally started
But the
seeing
heat will
black.
do that. Yes, it's
I love and
intense.
appreciate you.
You are the
Together,
best,
we are going to make a difference. For the next
Absolutely, absolutely. And now that you got your boo
That's it.
out
You
there
know it.
performing, doing her thing.
And my work is that she will never have the story.
That's it. That's what happens. You have a purpose.
You gotta go.
They already called.
Yeah,
you?
it's been
Who has
called.
my bag?
I have it.
Sorry. You're good. I just need to take a quick picture. Sorry. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much.
So I saw Tim Scott yesterday. He's always vying for a cabinet position, so he has to be careful. But this is something where this is Trump's last go around. So what can he really get?
Right.
Not get done, but what can he actually go? Where can he go?
That's true.
So doing that. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the safest way to do it because they said, well, we don't want abortion, we don't want this, we don't want, conception is whatever, right? Yeah. So, number one thing is, all right, well, support the baby to the grave. But when you use those terms, they get offended. I was like, all right, well, make sure the mother is there to take care of the child. It's all about the word of God, for sure.
I agree. All right, well, let's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
The capital. You see what I'm saying? This system will travel, and we are here. God bless you.
No problem.
Did you like the square bubble?
Yes,
All right.
Oh, yeah, my wife.
Take good care of yourself. If anything, and you need to sit down amongst the people, go to the office. Okay.